Have you ever felt like the world keeps testing your patience, pushing your buttons just to see if you'll break? Maybe it's the disrespect that comes when you stay calm instead of shouting back, or the loneliness that follows when you stop chasing people who never valued you. You try to be still, disciplined, composed, but deep down you wonder, does any of this strength even matter? Here's the quiet truth. It does. More than you know. In a world that thrives on noise, a calm and focused mind doesn't just stand out, it unsettles people. Not because you're doing anything loud or flashy, but because your silence holds weight. Your restraint makes them uneasy, and your presence, unshaken by chaos, feels like a mirror they're not ready to face. The Stoics knew this long before we gave it a name. They practiced self-mastery not for applause, but for clarity. They weren't seeking control over others. They were mastering the only thing that ever really matters: themselves. This video isn't about dominating anyone. It's about building a mind so steady, so centered, that nothing outside you can shake it. And once you do that, people will feel it. Some will respect you, some will fear you, but all will notice. So take a deep breath. And if something in you is ready to grow stronger, not louder, stay with me. Number 1, the mind shift that changes everything. Have you ever felt like life keeps throwing obstacles your way, and no matter how hard you try, it never gets easier? That quiet frustration, the feeling that things should go your way but somehow don't, is where most suffering begins. The Stoics knew this truth long before we gave it a name. It's not life itself that wounds us. It's the belief that life was ever supposed to be smooth. From the moment we're young, we're sold an illusion. If you work hard, stay kind, and do your best, things will unfold as planned. But the world doesn't operate by promises. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The world isn't cruel, and it isn't kind, it just is. What changes your life isn't what happens, it's how you respond. Real transformation begins not when you try to force the world to bend, but when you decide to become stronger for whatever it throws at you. That's the mind shift. That's where a true warrior begins, not by puffing up with pride or affirmations, but by letting go of the fantasy that ease is the goal. Strength isn't built in peace, it's built in pressure. Look at the people who have truly earned your respect. They're not the ones who win every time. They're the ones who stay composed when they lose, who don't react impulsively, but pause, gather themselves, and choose their response. That's the real muscle you need to train. Viktor Frankl, imprisoned in Nazi camps, surrounded by death and despair, discovered the truth that changed millions of lives. When everything is taken from you, one freedom remains: the freedom to choose your response. That isn't just a comforting idea. It's one of the greatest psychological insights of the last century. It returns power to the one place no one can touch: your mind. And once you understand that, even your worst moments become useful. Most people treat hardship as punishment. But a Stoic sees it as a tailor-made test. The world doesn't owe you ease, but it does offer the exact resistance your mind needs to sharpen. Like fire tempers steel, adversity shapes the edge of your character. Think about it. The people who break easily often haven't been tested. But those who faced real suffering tend to move with more stillness, more clarity. They've already been through the fire. You don't need a tragedy to learn this. You can start now by noticing your reactions. Ask yourself, does this really matter? Can I choose to see it differently? If I act on this emotion, what will it cost me? These aren't self-help mantras. They're tools, mental weapons. Do the hard thing. Stop expecting ease. Welcome challenge. That's the first resistance your mind must overcome if you ever want to be unshakable. You can't learn patience in a rush. You can't learn conviction without pushback. You can't develop inner strength if you've never stood alone and stayed standing. Truly strong people don't have to announce it. They don't chase validation. They don't dominate with noise. Their calm unsettles others, not because it's loud, but because it's stable, and most people are not. Here's the practice. Next time you're spiraling, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What is this here to teach me?" That one question can return you to yourself. It cuts through the fog. It reminds you, you still have power. Because once you realize that strength comes from stillness, not performance, you stop looking outward. And you begin doing the one thing that matters most, clearing out the habits that quietly keep you weak. And that's exactly what we'll face in the next step. Number 2. Habits you must break to grow. Have you ever had a moment of quiet, alone with your thoughts, and asked yourself, why am I still here? Why do I keep circling the same patterns? You try to stay motivated, you listen to the podcasts, you read the books, but something doesn't change. You feel it, don't you? That quiet weight in the background. Not because you're weak, not because you lack potential, but because your own habits, small, invisible, daily, are slowly building a cage around your mind. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. But what he didn't say directly, and what you must come to understand, is that your mind cannot be strong if it's carrying dead weight. And dead weight looks like complaining. It looks like procrastination. It looks like chasing comfort in a world that demands discomfort for growth. Let's start with complaining. It feels harmless, like venting steam. But it's a drug, a sweet poison that tells your brain, I have no power. When you complain about your job, your past, your partner, or your circumstances, you're not solving anything. You're feeding the idea that your life is happening to you, not because of you. You've never seen a true warrior complain about the battlefield. They train, they adapt, they endure. Complaining is the opposite of movement. It's mental paralysis, wearing the mask of expression. So the next time you feel that urge, pause and ask yourself, can I do something about this? If yes, act. If no, release. Anything else is wasted strength. Then there's comfort, the most seductive trap of all. You think you're choosing peace, but what you're really choosing is slow decay. Every time you choose the warm bed over the cold morning run, silence over an honest conversation, delay over decision, you tell your inner self, safety is more important than becoming. And that's a lie that will cost you everything. The Stoics didn't seek pain, but they embraced challenge. Seneca said, we must undergo a hard winter training and not rush into things for which we haven't prepared. If you're always choosing the path of least resistance, you are preparing for nothing. You are softening. And what softens too long eventually crumbles. I remember hearing the story of a man who set his alarm 30 minutes earlier every day, not because he had to, but because he wanted to train his will. He said the battle wasn't about waking up, it was about keeping a promise to himself. And over time, those 30 minutes weren't just extra time, they became proof. Proof that he could choose discomfort on purpose. That's how he became strong, not with a grand gesture, but with a silent daily decision to do what most avoid. And what about excuses? The mind loves them. They're intelligent, convincing. I'm tired, I'm busy, I'm not built for this. But here's the truth. Every excuse is just fear in disguise. Fear of failing, fear of being seen trying, fear of change, and fear left unchecked will start to sound like truth. I've met people with genius potential, hearts on fire, but they were trapped by their own stories, repeating them like mantras. I don't have time. I'm not ready. I'm just not that type of person. And as long as they believed that, they weren't. But belief is not fate. Belief can be challenged, rewritten, replaced. All it takes is one step in the opposite direction. And perhaps the deepest prison of all is the need for approval. You start living for applause, for likes, for the nods of those who don't even understand you. You delay decisions, edit your truth, dim your light, because you're afraid of being misunderstood. But Epictetus said it plainly. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Growth isn't public. It's awkward. It's lonely. And yes, sometimes people won't get it. That's not your problem. That's their limitation. And yet, there's a paradox. When you finally stop chasing validation, when you choose the right way over the easy one, you rise, not with arrogance, but with lightness. Like cutting sandbags from a hot air balloon, you ascend. You feel something new, peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because you no longer need it to be. So now I ask you, what habits are weighing you down? What do you do daily that quietly teaches your mind to be weak? Is it checking your phone the moment you wake up? Postponing what matters until tomorrow? Saying yes when your soul screams no? You don't have to change your entire life tonight, but you do have to stop betraying yourself in small ways, because every act of self-betrayal teaches your mind that it cannot be trusted. And every time you choose truth over ease, discomfort over safety, action over avoidance, you rebuild that trust. Take one breath, one honest look within, then pick one habit that has held you back for too long and break it. No dramatic promises, no perfect timing, just break it. That's the first real act of strength. And when you do, you won't need to tell anyone you're getting stronger. They'll feel it in how you walk, in how you speak, in how you choose. Because true strength isn't about adding more. It's about shedding what no longer serves. And once that clearing begins, we're finally ready to build, brick by brick, a disciplined practice that strengthens the mind every single day. That's where we go next. Number 3, daily practices for inner strength. What do you do when the noise finally fades, when all the beliefs that once propped you up have crumbled and you're left standing on bare ground? That moment, quiet, stripped of illusion, isn't something to fear. It's sacred. Because now, there's nothing left to hide behind, but also nothing left to hold you back. This isn't the end. It's the first real beginning. And it's where you start building, not a fragile mindset that survives the day, but a solid inner fortress that lasts a lifetime. The Stoics didn't talk about change. They practiced it every day. They didn't wait for motivation, applause, or a sign from the gods. They built themselves from the inside out, brick by brick, through simple disciplines. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And mastery doesn't arrive in lightning strikes of clarity. It's found in the repeated quiet choices you make when no one is watching. Start with the body. Movement is more than health. It's obedience to your will. The Romans understood this deeply. They trained not just for strength, but for resilience, to make the body serve the mind. A push-up isn't just about muscle, it's a test. Will you do what's difficult when it's easier not to? When you run, lift, stretch, or even just walk with intention, you are telling your mind, I still command this ship. And slowly, that self-respect builds. You said you would, and you did. Rain or shine, tired or not, witnessed or alone. Then there's stillness. In a world addicted to noise, being still feels unnatural. But you can't expect to control your emotions if you've never even sat with them. Set aside 5 minutes. No phone, no distractions. Just sit. Let the discomfort rise and observe it like a passing storm. That's how you train the eye of the hurricane within you, a calm so solid that chaos dances around it without pulling you in. Call it meditation, reflection, or simply silence. What matters is that you do it, not as an escape, but as your return. But the most transformative practice, the one that separates the strong from the merely interested, is this: doing the hard thing daily. The right way is rarely easy, and most avoid it not because it's impossible, but because it's inconvenient. Wake up with the alarm. Don't snooze. Say no when you mean no. Speak up when it matters. Learn what makes you feel clumsy and slow. Why? Because every time you avoid the difficult, you erode your own trust. And every time you face it, even if it's small, you lay down another stone in the foundation of your inner self. I once knew a man who trained himself by standing under a cold shower every morning. Not because it made him stronger physically, but because it reminded him, first thing, that he could choose discomfort over comfort. And that choice set the tone for his day. He didn't call himself disciplined. He didn't need to. His actions spoke louder. That's the difference between talking about strength and becoming it. The warrior doesn't need to prove himself. His rituals are his evidence. As you move through your day, ask yourself, when was the last time I said yes to growth and no to comfort? When did I act not because I felt like it, but because it was necessary? That's the moment you reclaim power, not from the world, but from the habits that quietly own you. And when you feel tired, discouraged, or tempted to quit, pause, breathe, notice your reaction. Understand that discomfort isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It's asking, are you worthy of the next version of yourself? And your answer isn't in your words, it's in whether or not you keep going. So, start now, today, not tomorrow, not when things feel easier. Take that cold shower, do those 10 push-ups, turn off your phone for 5 minutes and just sit. Choose one hard thing and face it, not for glory, not for others, but because this is how you become unshakable. This is how you become the kind of presence that makes people pause, not with intimidation, but with stillness that commands respect. If something in this message stirred something in you, write 2 simple words in the comments. I begin. And if you want more daily tools to strengthen your mind like this, consider subscribing now. Each week we go deeper, together, not with noise, but with action. Now take that first step, because once your habits shift, your identity follows. And once your identity shifts, your life never goes back. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the one thing most people fear and how the Stoic doesn't run from it, but uses it: failure. Not as a wound, but as a weapon. Number 4, rethink failure like a Stoic. Have you ever failed so hard it made you question who you are? Not just a small slip, but the kind that stays with you. The job you lost, the dream that collapsed, the words you didn't say until it was too late. Moments that cracked something inside. And still, here you are, watching, reflecting, wondering if you'll ever rebuild what was lost, or better yet, build something new. Most of us are taught to run from failure, to mask it, move past it quickly, pretend it never happened. Society paints failure like a dirty stain, proof that you're careless or not good enough. But the Stoics saw it differently. To them, failure isn't a punishment. It's a map, not one people line up to hold, but one that quietly marks the terrain of inner growth. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties show men what they are, and failure is the most honest difficulty of all." You don't know the strength of your mind until you've sat with failure and refused to look away. Not flinching, not explaining, just asking, "What are you here to teach me?" That question is where everything begins, not the day you succeed, but the day you fall and choose to stay awake through it. Because failure always speaks, but only the disciplined mind learns to listen. Take Catherine Schultz, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. She spent years writing a book titled Being Wrong, not to shame failure, but to reveal its power. She discovered that those who excelled the most weren't the ones who were always right. They were the ones who weren't afraid to be wrong, again and again. They studied their mistakes without pride or self-pity, like a scientist running an experiment. No drama, just observation. Now imagine how different your life would be if you treated your failures like that. Not as personal indictments, but as raw data. If your business fell apart, maybe it showed you what you didn't understand about trust. If someone walked away from you, maybe it pointed to a truth you hadn't been ready to face. These aren't signs that you're broken. They're signs that you've reached the edge of who you were, and you're being invited to become more. Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, and once the youngest self-made female billionaire, was raised with a strange ritual. Every day, her father asked her, "What did you fail at today?" Not to mock her, but to normalize failure, to reward it, to train her nervous system to stop reacting in shame and instead lean into discomfort. So when dozens of investors rejected her idea, she didn't collapse. She didn't interpret their no as proof of her inadequacy. She took it as a sign that she was trying hard enough. You may think you're nothing like her, but you are. The only difference is how you've been trained to respond to failure. She trained her mind to stand still in the storm, and you can too. This is what a true warrior understands, that real strength is not built in applause or success, but in silence when the world walks away and you stay behind with your own thoughts. You can't forge steel without fire, and you can't forge yourself without failure. You are the blade, and failure is the fire, the hammer, the rhythm. The problem is that no one teaches us how to fail with dignity. We're taught how to win, how to impress, how to pretend, but not how to watch someone you love walk away without collapsing. Not how to open a rejection letter without hating yourself. Not how to stare down an empty bank account without letting shame eat you alive. The Stoic doesn't seek failure, but when it comes, they don't panic. They open the door. They sit with it. They offer it a cup of tea and ask, "What now?" This isn't weakness. It's the right way to live. Because if you can fail and stay honest, if you can fall and stay open, you've already won something no success can give you. So ask yourself now, what failure are you still avoiding? What memory do you flinch from, bury, excuse away? Write it down. Look at it like you'd look at a scar, not with disgust, but with quiet recognition. This is part of your becoming, and the next time you fall, and you will, don't numb yourself with distractions. Don't scramble to be understood. Just be still, breathe, ask, what is this moment here to make of me? That's how the mind grows strong. And once you've answered that question, you're ready to face the final force, the one that makes your strength unshakable, the judgment of others, and the deep, silent discipline of becoming who you were meant to be, whether anyone claps or not. Number 5, master your emotions under fire. Think back to the last time someone disrespected you, an offhand remark, a sarcastic comment, or just a cold glance that sliced through your confidence. Did your chest tighten? Did anger rise like a flame from your stomach to your throat? Did you want to lash out, say something sharp, reclaim some kind of control in the moment? That reaction is human, but the question isn't whether you felt it. The question is, did you control it, or did it control you? Emotions are like steam in a pressure cooker. Release them too early, and they scald everything around you. But manage the heat well, and they can create something powerful, something nourishing. The Stoics never asked us to become emotionless. What they asked was simple. Is this emotion helping you, or is it costing you your peace? That is the only filter you need. Seneca once wrote, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." And how true that is. You may stew for 3 days over a stranger's insult online. You may slam a door because someone questioned your idea. But long after the moment has passed, what lingers isn't the insult. It's the regret that you let it shake you. I once heard of a man, let's call him Daniel, who was going through a job interview after being laid off unexpectedly. The interviewer seemed unimpressed, cold, dismissive. Most people would panic or become defensive, but Daniel simply smiled and asked, "Is there anything in my background you're concerned about? I'd love a chance to address it." That moment shifted the entire tone. Not because Daniel had the best resume, but because he didn't flinch. He was calm under pressure. And that calmness wasn't passive. It was presence. That's what true strength looks like. Not the person who dominates the room with volume, but the one whose stillness forces others to pause. Marcus Aurelius put it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And once you realize it, excuses fall away. Because if you truly believe your mind is yours to master, you lose the justification to let someone else hijack it. There was an older man I once met who said it took him 15 years to stop arguing back when his wife was upset. Not because he stopped caring, but because he learned that silence at the right time was the right way to protect both of them. He wasn't trying to win. He was choosing not to lose himself. That's not avoidance, that's wisdom. You don't need a trick, just a pause. 5 seconds, that's all. Count them in your head next time you feel the fire rising. Not because it's some self-help tactic, but because you are a warrior in training, and this is one of your trials. You're not learning to suppress what you feel. You're learning to respond instead of react. That's mastery. And here's the beauty of it. If you do this consistently, even for just a week, you'll notice that people start responding to you differently. They won't know why, but they'll sense the difference. You'll become harder to provoke, steadier under pressure, untouchable by petty chaos. Staying calm when things are peaceful is easy, but staying calm when someone throws fuel on the fire, that's where your strength is tested. That's where your identity as a Stoic is formed. And when you've tasted that level of composure, you'll realize it's not about being untouched. It's about choosing not to be moved. And once that choice becomes instinct, you'll be ready to take the next step, to build a foundation within so steady no storm outside can shake it. That's what we'll uncover next. Number 6. Build an unshakable mental core. Have you ever stood in the middle of chaos and wondered, why am I the only one trying to hold it all together? The world pulls at you from every direction, traffic that won't move, deadlines breathing down your neck, your phone lighting up with demands, and a message from your boss blaming you for a mistake you didn't make. In those moments, most people snap, but a strong mind doesn't panic. It doesn't seek revenge. It simply says, I've been through worse. I can handle this. Stoicism teaches that no one is born unshakable. That kind of mind is not a gift. It's built, slowly, quietly, in the moments no one sees. And because it's built in silence, when it finally emerges, it doesn't ask for respect. It earns it. not through force, but through calm. When everyone else is unraveling, you become the stillness that makes them pause. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The mind is like a house. When storms rage, the fragile run outside, trying to fix the weather. The Stoic shuts the door, checks the windows, and reinforces the frame. The storm still rages, but inside, they're steady. That's the right way to face life, not by chasing peace out there, but by fortifying it within. There's one practice that strengthens this core. Start small. Choose one moment each day where you usually react. Someone cuts in line, a message irritates you, a plan goes wrong. In that moment, ask, is this emotion helping? If it isn't, let it go. Every time you do, you place another stone in your foundation. Over time, you become someone people can't rattle. They may not understand you, but they feel the difference. Let me tell you about a man named Mark from Cincinnati. Years ago, he worked 12-hour shifts as a delivery driver, sending money to support his sick mother while trying to pay off student loans from a degree he never finished. One icy night, his truck slid through an intersection and crashed. Delivery missed, job gone. A week later, his girlfriend left. Her note read, "I can't live in this uncertainty." Alone in a freezing apartment with $72 to his name, Mark didn't post on social media. He didn't call anyone to vent. He opened his notes app and typed, "No one's coming, so I have to come for myself." 3 months later, he found work in an old auto shop. A year after that, he was fixing the very kind of truck that had cost him everything. 7 years later, he published a book. The title, "Enduring didn't make me strong, rebuilding did." That's the path of a warrior. Not someone who never falls, but someone who rebuilds after they do. Quietly, with intention. Try this tonight. Write down one moment where you lost control today. Then write 3 ways you could have responded if your mind was stronger. Repeat this daily. Over time, you'll realize change doesn't come from feeling powerful. It comes from becoming harder to shake. People won't respect you because you speak louder. They'll respect you because you don't waver. Because when they react, you pause. When they spiral, you hold your rhythm. Your steadiness reflects their chaos, and not everyone is ready to face their own reflection. If you've come this far, know this. Mental strength won't shorten the path, but it will help you stand when the path grows steep. And to walk the full distance, you'll need something even more powerful than strength. You'll need discipline. Because when motivation disappears, and it always does, discipline is what keeps you moving. And that's where we go next. Number 7. Why discipline beats motivation. It's 5:30 a.m. The alarm cuts through the silence like a knife. Your body is heavy, your thoughts sluggish. Somewhere between your first conscious breath and the cold air around you, a quiet battle begins. Just 10 more minutes, then 10 more. And before you know it, the day starts not with strength, but with surrender. You didn't fail because you're lazy. You lost because you entered a battle without armor. And that armor, day after day, is discipline. We're told that inspiration is the key, that if we can just find the right quote, the right podcast, the right morning routine, we'll feel unstoppable. But Stoicism warns us not to build a life on fleeting wins. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being." He didn't say when you feel like it. He said, because it's your task. Motivation may feel powerful, but it's a guest. showing up randomly, disappearing without warning. Discipline, though, is the resident, the silent force that opens the door before dawn and keeps moving long after everyone else has gone home. Think of a warrior in training. He doesn't wait for the mood to strike. He sharpens the blade every morning, whether the sun is shining or the rain is pouring. He trains not because it's exciting, but because it's required. That's discipline. It's the right way to live if you want to become someone you can trust, especially when the stakes are high and no one's watching. Look at anyone who creates lasting results. They're not the loudest. They don't chase every spark. They have systems. The writer who hits 500 words every morning, even when the words are dry. The athlete who trains through heartbreak. The entrepreneur who reads, not when it's fun, but because clarity requires fuel. They're not addicted to feeling good. They're committed to doing what's necessary. That's the difference between a spark and a fire. So ask yourself, what system do you have in place when you don't feel like it? What behavior is non-negotiable in your life? Without a structure, you become a servant to your emotions. And a servant cannot lead. But with structure, you become your own foundation. Quiet, steady, unshakable. I once knew a man who got sober, not because he felt inspired, but because he set a rule. No matter what, he would attend one meeting a day. Whether he was tired, angry, depressed, it didn't matter. That simple act, done daily, saved his life. He didn't wait to feel strong. He behaved like someone who wanted to survive, and eventually he became strong. That's the paradox of discipline. You don't feel powerful at first. You feel bored, tired, frustrated, but if you push through those early frictions, something happens. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop asking your feelings for permission. And you become someone who does what must be done, no matter what. In a world full of noise, this quiet consistency becomes rare, and that rarity becomes power. Not the flashy kind, but the kind that bends reality. The kind that people respect without understanding. So don't wait for motivation. It's unreliable. Instead, choose the system. Choose the practice. Choose the next action. Because if you can build discipline, you don't need to chase strength. You become it. And once you've laid this foundation, you'll realize something essential. It's not about pushing harder forever. It's about knowing when to release, when to act, and when to accept. Because the strongest minds aren't just disciplined, they're free. Free from needing constant results, free from chasing every outcome. And that quiet detachment, that's the final piece we're about to uncover. We've just explored 7 principles for building a mind so steady, so grounded, it commands quiet respect, not through force, but through presence. Stoicism doesn't hand you peace. It gives you tools. It doesn't say escape the storm. It says learn to walk through it with clarity. And in those silent moments, when no one sees you showing up, when everything in you wants to quit but you keep going, that's where something rare is forged. One day, someone will ask how you stay so centered. You'll smile, not because it was easy, but because you chose to live this way. If this message resonated, subscribe and keep walking with us. And in the comments, write 2 simple words: still standing. That alone is proof you're becoming stronger than you were. The next lesson will go even deeper. Stay ready.